Pagan book appraisals with Ed the Pagan and Don Lewis, long-term collectors and lovers books. This is the last part of our first show, and this is a box Rob sent me. He wanted to praise and help with sales. Full disclosure up front, part of this is to do it. This is the Masters collection. This is some of the more better known books, and I think this is like real value. We've seen he had a really good collection of paperbacks and a handful of almanacs, but these are the Masters. This one is Sybil Leek. Before I get into the description of the book, John's going to offer a little bit who Sybil Leek was. Why is this a really valuable one?
Well, Sybil Leek was one of the first really public witch authors in the 60s and 70s. She was very prolific. She was very much a public figure. She was a very interesting person. Her tradition, I believe, is still going today with various permutations. And she definitely represents a different branch of witchcraft than much of what you will encounter as more popular witchcraft today. I personally am a great fan of Sybil Leek. This book is in my library, another copy of it, obviously. And I think that if you don't know Sybil Leek, you do not know the history of 20th century witchcraft.
So let me make a disclosure. You're going to say, oh, I've seen that book for $5 or $2 or $3 at a thrift shop. I hunt those for this particular reason. But if this were in a cult shop, and everything I'm describing to you is a cult shop, if an insurance, so let me tell you the grade I'm doing is, if an insurer asks me how much it would cost to replace, that is where I'm dealing with. So that's the number one way the world deals with appraisals. So this was a first printing, this is the first edition, fourth printing of this book. It's a great book. They know that this is a sequel. This is the New American Library. It has a little bit of seam damage. It's got some smokiness to it. And you see some edges around it, a little bit of smokiness. But pristine, the pages all hold together. So this one I would put in a shop for about $90. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was $120, $130. I also think because of the number of printed copies and how many are getting destroyed on a regular basis. Remember, cult books are being destroyed every minute. Especially old, because people don't know what they're looking for because they were such a hidden to culture. So, $90. I know. Would I pay for these prices? Yeah, these are prices that I would expect to pay. And if I saw them less than that, I would want to resell. Yes. Short dictionary mythology. These are kind of common.
Yes, they were. They were very common, but they can be very interesting. Right.
This was by Percival Woodcock. Now, this is one of those. This is dried. This has been exposed to water and moisture. So you see that. If you ever see that, if you're a real book collector, but you have an allergy to mold, you should get that. It was done in 1953. It's a first edition. It's got its book cover and everything else. If you like mythology and everything else, this is 40, 45. I'd love to say that it's more because I love mythology, but it's about 40, 45. And I don't know that it has much upside unless mythology catches on a lot more.
I believe the fact that it still has the dust jacket.
$10 for that.
Significantly too.
Yeah, I mean, this one has, this one, if you had this one and you wanted to take a speculative piece, this is a great speculation because most likely, as a trend of all books, not just occult books, that keep their dust covers over a long period of time are always more valuable. All right, so I want to get into this. Lady Sheba.
Lady Sheba, like Sybil Leek, is a figure who was very, very prominent at one time, and if you don't know Lady Sheba, you do not know 20th century witchcraft.
Right. Now, the secrets of an American witch queen. Very much off, and this is what she said. These are the spells she was selling. She was absolutely spelling. This is a spell book. Again, a little bit of that edgy mold, but this is good. Zebra Books put this out, and that's very important. And of course, this is the first printing, and I always love seeing this. It is actually a book of two. They talk about the two earlier books. This is a combination of, but this is the first printing of this, the first edition. Okay, $150. Period. You're not going to see something of this quality, and I really do think in print pristine condition will be worth $500. I think this is one of those books. Lady Sheba will see a comeback, and this will be later. People don't realize that. I'm going to talk about this. This is a 10-year hold. I think this is a real good 10-year hold, and I think that'll see it $700, $800. But today, $150. Another nice thing, The Book of Shadows by Lady Sheba.
It
$2.95.
looks in very good condition.
It absolutely is. Good spine, a little bit there. Much cleaner pages. You know, you can see now what I'm talking about. This is really pristine. So this is the first one I would say very good too. It's the second printing, of course, which I like, of the first edition out here, all rights reserved. And so again, and this one's really nice and it's really important work and it's pretty damn rare. So this is a $225 book. Of course. One of the Granddaddy books. So this one's not a new one, and of course a lot of people see it. This is a good collection book piece. This is actually a 5th paperbound back printing. This is probably one of the most published books of his in so many different versions. But having those versions is important. This one's an early one, 74, 75 from an early 50. This is really the books a lot of the Wiccan revivalists, the Wiccans who wanted to be involved, were reading, right? There was this one, and I think this one could have been in the hand. Good, decent spine, a little bit of exposure. Because it's so deep into the printing, I would price it at 100, 110. You can argue with me if you want, but I do think that earlier and earlier editions, first edition of this book, $1,500. Tell you right now, it could be exposed, take it to Salem, $1,500. I really like this one. Sued Farrar's What Witches Do.
Very famous book.
It's a famous book, and Farrar continued on this.
Oh, yes. And this is an early edition, I believe.
Not only that, the great jacket. They have a picture of him right here. This was an all-out printing. Coward and that sort of thing. And of course, this is what I really want to see. No printing. He doesn't even talk about being a first printing because they weren't that exposed. This is the first copy. It has its cover. And it's Alex, and it's blessed to Alex, Maxine, and Maya. Now, everybody knows, I know about the first two. Who's Maya? Do you know?
I don't know offhand.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'm taking a look. And the photos were by the author himself. And so this is a really good book. You really want to. Some damage in the corners. I was worried that was a book edition. That was my biggest thing. Always look for book edition. It's always on the covers. This has got its cover and everything else. I would price this one with its damage. It's at good at about $400 or $500. And the thing is, the more pristine this one is, because it's so important, especially this edition, I think this is one of those that'll go up to be one of those name books that go, actual 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, and be competed for. We're coming into an age where people want to compete for books. All right. And my last one for today, from this set, I think this was amazing. So there's some other items in there I'll talk about, but this is the last piece. Witchcraft from the Inside by Ray Buckland. And you see that, and there's a little bit of coffee or water staining, unfortunately. Do you see that symbol there? Probably not, but let me publish this. Llewellyn Publications. Nothing on the back cover. This is such a pristine old book. And you go, okay, and then Witchcraft from the Inside, a big description on the inside. They did that a lot. A Llewellyn Occult Manual. Right? Dr. Raymond Buckland, 1971. Comes out to the picture. First printing, 1971. There we go. I'm trying to be very careful with the back. Llewellyn Publications. Nice pictures. You don't see the damage inside that you see other places. Right? Beautiful. Okay. Honestly, if you really wanted to take this out from the hands, this is the best book of the collection for all the purposes. There's others that have a better condition, and I really wish it didn't have some of the little outside damage it has, but it's good. The binding's good. These are exceptionally rare. This is $700. And over the long term, Witchcraft from the Inside, a pristine copy edition, a mint condition, I will guarantee, you can almost bet and promise within 10 years, at the rate we're starting to see the occult shows moving, sort of the collectors of the occult ideology, I wouldn't be surprised to see this as a $10,000 book. I know people say, oh, you're crazy, you're not going to get there. I made a lot of protections, check them out. But certainly there. So 700, you know, 800 for this one. Everything else was pretty good. I think so overall. I think he did a really good job. I mean, so a lot of them you see, you know, if you see books in 40, 50, 60 range, and they are first edition and they are occult, I think they're a good buy. What do you think? Any other advice you'd give them as a person who reads them and collects them?
Well, I think one of the things that I would say, and from the collecting point of view, is that just because a book had many copies when it was published doesn't mean that there are many copies still out there now.
And you always hear about families throwing away occult collections. So that's one of the things we're working against. Alrighty, folks. Until next time, this has been Pagan Book Appraisals. Watch us on all of our channels. And check it all out at thepagan.com.